I feel like anytime I do yoga without a mat, I'm going to get in trouble. Like the yogic gods are going to come down and get me in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's a weird environment.
It's Herbalism Uncensored. That's the name of the podcast.
Uncensored. We're going to bleep out everything you say. It feels like you're trapped in a body you can't trust. And if you don't have the tool to make the difference, you're stuck.
Feel your big toe. And when I experience that, then I begin to feel other things as well. All of it helps me come to a deeper level of honesty with myself.
You want to be strong. What if there's no place called strong? What if there's actually just a gradient of where you are, and I can be stronger or less strong?
If we don't remember that we can interrupt them, we're stuck in the cycle.
Do something different. Do 100 handstands. You will make different choices. There really is only one rational place to stand when it comes to your health, and that is optimism.
Welcome to Herbalism Uncensored, the podcast where we dig deep into the world of herbalism and natural healing. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Lila. We're two clinical herbalists who recognize the need for honest and authentic conversations about the state of natural healing today. As practitioners, we feel called to have uncensored discussions about why people aren't finding relief and what to do about it.
If you're frustrated by lack of results, overwhelmed by conflicting advice online, disillusioned by the commercialization of wellness, or simply passionate about natural healing, you're in the right place.
This podcast is our way of cutting through the noise, busting myths, and challenging marketing gimmicks.
This is Herbalism Uncensored,
where together we're nurturing the future of natural healing.
The contents of this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to be a substitute in any way for professional medical advice, treatment, or diagnosis. It's important that you always seek the advice of your physician or other licensed healthcare provider with any questions or concerns you may have regarding a medical condition. All right, guys. Well, welcome to this episode of Herbalism Uncensored. We have a special guest today. Andrew Royal Dugas is the co-founder of Yoga Better Studio and founder of the Yoga Better Style in Houston, Texas. As a classical double bassist, Andrew first encountered yoga while studying at Rice University in 1997. By 2003, he had traded concert halls for the mat, committing full-time to teaching. Over the past 25 years, he has taught more than 50,000 classes, currently leading about 50 classes each week, and is known for blending rigorous anatomy with playful, pain-free movement that's accessible to everyone. He is the author of 7 books. His forthcoming book, There Is No Pose, the Yoga Better Movement Manual, distills decades of inquiry into clear, practical tools for feeling better in your body. Andrew is a husband, father, teacher, small business owner, and fearless leader. We're excited to welcome Andrew to the podcast for a deep dive into how better really happens on and off the mat. Hey, Andrew.
Hi. Hilariously, I don't use a mat.
Exactly, off the mat.
It was a metaphorical trading concert halls for mats. Yeah.
Well, you did use a mat, didn't you, for a while?
For 6 weeks, yeah.
But when you started doing yoga, all the mats were awful.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I didn't use a mat. I gave it up real quickly. But yeah, I had one mat for 6 weeks, and then ever since, no mats.
I have so many questions for you because I feel like anytime I do yoga without a mat, I'm going to get in trouble. Like the yogic gods are going to come down and get me in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's a weird environment. No judgment, but maybe find a space that's like, hey, you're cool.
Oh, I only do yoga in my living room. I don't.
Oh,
this is my own.
These are the gods that live in your head. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a different therapist you have to see.
Okay.
There is a doing it right God. Like there's a right way to do stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we get to in the analysis of how to make stuff better, since we're having a betterment conversation. What are the presumptions that I've inherited in all the stuff that I do? So in the practice, you use a mat, you put lavender scented eye covers on, you obviously have music. We had bumpin' tunes for all of humanity, right? All time. We've listened to music when we do yoga, we listen to music. And we call all of the stuff that's sort of mixed together and unanalyzed the inherited practice. We just inherit a bunch of stuff. And then what you guys do and what we do over here in yoga is we just take the time to ask, is that necessary? Does that work? Do we even like this? Is it making a difference?
Yeah. Is this something that enriches the experience?
Yeah.
Or are we just doing it because?
Yeah. Or, you guys know who David Hume is? let's go deep philosopher, right? Because 17th century philosopher, one of the ways that you can understand your own position better, he said that, this is a paraphrase, if you don't understand the arguments against your position, you don't understand your position. So I can actually give you 20 reasons to use a mat, but I don't use a mat. And so when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to be really strong, and I see that they can't do down dog off of a mat, I say, well, okay, 10% of the time, try yoga off of a mat. But of course, if you're like me and you got bony elbows and knees, like, it's really nice to have a mat. It gives you a personal space. It gives you friction. It causes problems. Like in our style, we do lots of elbows down stuff, forearm stands, elbows down dog, that other people call dolphin. We call it elbows down dog. And you would know if there was a hardcore yoga better practitioner in your class because their elbows would be all scabbed up from all the elbows down stuff. And so the elbows down stuff gets you strong, but I've never gotten a scab in my elbows from any of those positions. Anybody have a theory why?
Well, I know why.
Yeah.
But because your elbow on the floor, your elbows will slide. Mm-hmm. On the mat grabs your elbows, keeps them from sliding, and instead your skin tears.
That's right. So on the floor, you're forced to be honest. Your elbows will slide out, and so you have to strengthen the stuff that keeps them in. On a mat, your elbows are sliding out just as hard, but now there's this friction that tears your skin. So, okay, can we be honest about the costs of mats, right? It's really nice to have your personal space, and it's really nice not to sweat on the public floor, say. And it's really beautiful to have padding and a little bit of grip, and, I don't have to worry about the germs. Like, I don't use a mat. I'm the Swiffer for every room I'm in. I walk out of the room, I'm covered with everything that was in the room, but I'm comfortable with that. But if there are certain goals that you want, we can have the conversation. Okay, yeah. Here, what we do at our studio is we have third mats. If you leave a studio at our mat, after a year, I cut it into 3 pieces. If you forgot your mat, you better come and get it, because after a year, I will cut that mat, and then it goes to our collection of these little mats you can use for your forearms, but then the rest of the time you can get rid of it, right?
You said something interesting. I wish I wrote it. You said on the floor you can't lie. Is that what you said?
There's higher levels of so we love honesty.
Yeah.
It's that self-delusion. So when you're disillusioned, right, it's very unpleasant. Like, oh, I was wrong about fill in the blank. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff in my life. It's very unpleasant when you are experiencing it. But what were you just before you became disillusioned? And all of your life before you became disillusioned?
I don't know, ignorant or?
Yeah, you were illusioned. You were living your whole worldview was through a misapprehension. You didn't understand. There's something that was a little wrong. And so I love disillusionment because I get to be less wrong. And so can we get to whatever the truth is? We can get closer to the truth as quickly as possible. I'm a divorced man. There are certain conversations that I call first date conversations. We got one married person. Lila, are you married?
I'm not.
You're not? Love marriage, love divorce. It's all great. So the woman I'm married to now, the other co-founder of the studio and one of the best yoga teachers in the world, fantastic, the most effortlessly charming, ebullient person you will ever have met. When I fell in love with her, before we ever kissed, it seemed like we were going to kiss, we're really liking each other. And here's what I said to her. I really like you. It seems like we're going to kiss. I'm very excited about that. If you choose me, here's what you're choosing. I have 2 kids and an ex-wife, and in 3 months I'm moving to Oregon to be with them. And so to choose me is to actually choose to have a relationship with my ex-wife and basically have 2 kids. And then I stopped talking. And I watched her go. And I watched it process, and this is the exact reaction. She pressed it for a little bit, and she went. And then we started kissing, and then I proposed after 2 weeks, and that's that. Our love story is very fantastic. But you can see how easy it would be to put some comfort lies in there. I want to get to the truth. Just like, let's get to it. What works, what doesn't work. To me, this is like everybody, I'm not that old, but apparently I'm like the last of the Gen Xers that was like super influenced by Disney. Like, I love marriage and romance and yay. And everybody younger than me is like, fuck marriage, government out of my Can I cuss? Is that a...
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, good.
It's Herbalism Uncensored. That's the name of the podcast.
Uncensored. But don't cuss. We're going to censor, we're going to bleep out everything you say. I love marriage. Let's get to it.
I love that.
kids. Yeah.
So, how long have you been married to Andrea?
We just had our 13th anniversary. Woo woo.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
13.
That's amazing.
That's a long time.
I want to back us up a little bit. Alicia and I are a little bit of outliers, and it appears you are in the yoga space. So will you just give a rundown of your yoga philosophy and how it differs from the mainstream goat yoga, vinyasa, music happening situation?
Yeah. I suspect you see this in all the little worlds that you run in as well. So can I define traditional yoga for you?
Please.
This is one of my favorite things. Through all of my book, I make up definitions, and we call them possible definitions. Hundreds, and so we're working with the same terms, because when you say traditional herbalism or herbalism generally, there's overlapping things in the Venn diagram, and this person's talking about this, you're talking about this, and then that's one of the problems for communication. So I love making up definitions for stuff. My definition for traditional yoga is stuff that came from India. That's it. That's it. And when you go to India and you say the word yoga, nobody agrees what that word means. So even from India, we're not getting clarity on what it is. So it's a very vague nothing. Would you like to hear my definition for real yoga?
Oh.
Real.
What is real yoga?
Okay, here's real yoga. Real yoga, oh, it's raining. Nice. Real yoga is that first yoga you did that you fell in love with, that made a difference with you. And everything else is bullshit. And so
I love that.
Yeah, it really made a difference with you. But anytime you ever hear somebody say real fill in the blank, that's what they're talking about. It's not real, and it's not even traditional. How old was it really? And at some point, somebody made up all of this, like herbs. Like somebody tried the herb and then they died, and they're like, guys, don't do that one. And then somebody was in labor and they tried this herb and it's like, oh, that helped her with her contractions or made the contractions stronger. And you learn over time, but it's all made up. It's all made up. And I feel like this is the beautiful thing about conversations that we get to have here versus where there isn't so much. Like I'm in Houston, and it wasn't until I went to Rome for the first time that I realized there could be a place that appreciated the past and beauty in public spaces. Houston, if it's 30 years old, it's down. They tear it down. Just here's a parking lot. Congratulations, you have a wider freeway and more parking lots. And because there kind of isn't this this sacredness to things that are old, we kind of have this ability to reinvent. And we talk about evolution or revolution. That's it. So for me, the biggest gift I got from my teacher, a guy named Rob Brustani, is that he wouldn't have said it's all made up, but just this freedom to play. So when I came in with all my crazy ideas, he would interrupt class and be like, Andrew, do you have something you would contribute? Which is crazy, right? I've been doing it 2 weeks or 2 months, but I was already playing and exploring and experimenting and finding new things. And there was like an incubator in his studio where you could just it wasn't, here's how you do it. This is the right way to do it. He improvised every class he taught, and he was always adding to, and here's what I discovered, here's the invention. And then what he also gave me was a care for and an interest in starting with anatomy, studying anatomy and what was actually happening with the body. And then we did lots of Ashtanga. And for those of you that don't know what Ashtanga is, it's as traditional as it gets in terms of hardcoreness. It's still a very recent practice. It's less than 100 years old, mostly codified by a diabetic Brahmin yoga guy who probably was a sexual predator. Anyway, so you get the idea. It's a mess. But when you think of yoga from India, it's all taught in Sanskrit. When they tell you to inhale, they tell you to inhale in Sanskrit. And so all the poses are in Sanskrit, a dead language nobody speaks. It's like Latin mass, right? Nobody speaks Latin. Nobody speaks Latin. And so I inherited a lot of the more mystical traditional worldviews from my teacher, where he was pulling from everything. He pulled from Qigong, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, all He pulled from all of the things. The genesis of all of my thinking was I started yoga really injured. I had more than a decade of back pain, and I was clinically depressed. And when I started breathing and moving my body, like, it transformed it. And it really felt like I woke up, like I'd been asleep my whole life. It really helped my back. And then it herniated the disc in my back. And then I tore every joint in my body. Name an injury I've given myself it, pushing hard in the traditional style, doing the crazy cool poses. And the worldview that my shoulder hurts, I have an issue with inflammation in the long head of biceps tendon, say, or a tear in the labrum, because the energy that runs through my shoulder is a little deranged, and you need to comb that energy. I totally subscribed to that for years, and what I found is that I never felt better. I would go to massage therapists, acupuncture, chiropractors, and nothing quite made the difference. And I didn't, have you guys been injured? I know Alicia, have you been injured? Lila, have you been injured?
I haven't had any major injuries, but like I have a reoccurring rib that pops out. I got like little things
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. And so it makes it hard to breathe, or you feel it when you sleep, stuff like that.
Yep.
So when, like the first time you got that, where the rib popped out and you didn't know it was a rib, you didn't know you could hurt like this. It's like, why is breathing a problem? When you're on this side of an injury, before you've understood it, found things that work, maybe recovered from it, it feels like you're trapped in a body you can't trust. And you're powerless. You can't, if you don't have the tool to make the difference, you're stuck. We define that as disempowered. You don't have choice. So the first big experiment was, okay, my worldview, my particular perspective of why injuries happen and how you be healthy is not working for my body. Is there any other perspective I could take? And the first thing I had to acknowledge is I talk like I care about anatomy, but I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm literally just parroting what my teacher said about knee function, his spine, posture. I don't know what I'm talking about. If you asked me to describe what happens with the knee, how does it work, I couldn't have told you. And really acknowledging that having this sort of Socratic, cathartic revelation, like how little I really know. And I literally monologue all day. I talk all day. People pay me to just talk. And when you're in this space where you're seen as a resource and people are coming after you after class, every class telling you the difference you make, except you still hurt, you still don't feel good, and people are getting injured, it would be very easy to have stayed in that place. But I hate not knowing. And that sort of willingness to jump in and acknowledge I don't know what the hell I'm talking about was step one. So I dived into anatomy. I am a college dropout. I almost didn't graduate high school. I'm not a good student. Super ADHD, and I now know dyslexic because I didn't realize this till my youngest two children were diagnosed and obviously dyslexic. I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't read a book till I was in 10th grade. Right. And so like, I never read an instruction manual until I was like 25. Like I'd never had the patience to like sit and do things the way they were designed. So I taught myself very slowly, very painfully anatomy and started feeling better. Started actually looking at, okay, Robert says, don't let the knee fall in a pose like warrior, which we don't even teach anymore. But a pose like warrior, the knee falls in, that's bad. Why? What we teach instead of warrior. Weather vane.
Well, yeah, so I'm thinking all of the different ways that you can get into.
Yeah, to me, warrior is a waste of time. Put all the weight either on the front leg or the back leg, right? You're getting twice the work. You get much stronger. You get to actually open up mobility. But at the time, I was still doing a lot of warrior, and everybody knows you got to keep that knee where? Over the heel. Why? And it turns out that's actually not quite correct if you want to have neutral pressure on ACL and medial meniscus. But I knew that the knee wasn't supposed to fall in. Why? Start to describe it. And as I began to understand the mechanics of the body, this is literally just me in an anatomy book. There is no like course. I was so broke, I couldn't take a course. There was no money for that. It was me in an anatomy book. I noticed as I try to just explain stuff by the stuff we can touch, I started feeling better. So the big thing, like for back pain, we talk about slouching. Everybody knows that sitting is bad for you. It's bad for the circulatory system and the legs. Obviously, there's some issues with nerve compression. Everybody sort of intuits that a little bit. You notice that when you drive for long periods, if you're symptomatic for sciatica, if you have nerve compression, L3 to S1, you'll get symptomatic. Like driving is really hard on the body from the sitting piece. But if you look at a sequence like Ashtanga First Series, I did the math on it, and it's in the postures book. If you take the sun salutation out, right, you start Ashtanga with 2 kinds of sun salutations where you get to do up dog a little bit. If you take that out, there is 1 back bend in an hour and a half practice. It is 97% forward folding, hip flexion with slouching. Like they're encouraging you to get your chest closer to your thighs, to get your face closer to your shin. And as an experiment in 2005, I just stopped slouching. I stopped forward bending from my spine. I kept a neutral spine in every position. And what that meant is like I didn't look like a yogi anymore. I couldn't touch my toes because my hips were actually tight. And what I was doing is I was bending in my spine instead of my hips. And that's what herniated the disc. Once I understood the mechanics of it, I could see it. And then the big experiment was, what if I just stopped forever? So in 2005, I stopped taking my legs behind my head. I stopped trying to, you've seen these positions where your feet are wide and you're basically trying to put your head in your own butt crack, where you go all the way around. You've seen those, right? I used to work on that. I used to do that all the time. Shoulder stands, cat, tailbone tucking. I gave it up in 2005. And I've been pain-free since 2006. So 2005, I'm still teaching yoga. You come to me with back pain. Everybody wants to tuck their tailbone, flatten their back, round, stretch out the back of the body because my back is tight and I need to make it feel better. And I'm the one person anywhere saying, hey, let's actually look at what like a shoulder stand does for you. Let's slouch in your cervical spine with all of your body weight driving your cervical discs out. And I would make the case for, hey, let's give that up as an experiment and see if your chronic neck pain goes away. And it went away. Like, oh, that's weird. What? Like keeping my skull over my spine all day, like makes me feel a little bit better. I have more energy. I'm more clear. I'm not compressing my heart and lungs. It's easier to breathe. I sleep better. I gave up a pillow. I don't sleep with a pillow when I'm on my back or belly because that's slouching, right? This head forward position. And it was a good 10 years where if you talk to, I'll just say it, I was kind of like a big deal. It was kind of a big deal in Houston because there's like 3 dude teachers in the whole city. This is a time when no dude did yoga, and I could do some cool stuff. I could lie on my belly and do push-ups, pick my legs up and planche. Like my whole body would lift up, including my feet. I had to do contortionistic back bends and forward bends. And so when you can do cool stuff, people view you as a resource. And when one of those people says your favorite thing is bad for you, yeah, it's how I would have said it in the past is like, I know that you love stretching your back and there's an intuition that counter pose feels good for you. But I have a lot of experience that says something different. Here's my invitation. Try this new thing, experiment with it and see if it works. Fast forward 20 years of repeating myself 7 days a week, 40 to 50 classes a week. I just say, hey, that squirts your discs out. It'll ruin your spine.
It squirts them right out.
Yeah, sometimes it pops.
Or squashes. It'll squash them.
It's you are squashing, but the disc squishes out.
So
that's the proper grammar.
This is Texas vernacular.
Oh yeah,
Lila.
Okay, I'm like, these are new words.
Lila's in Vancouver, Washington. She's never heard anyone squash anything.
That's right.
But I want to backen it up a little bit. To me, yoga is a spiritual practice. Yoga means to yoke, to join. The asanas, the postures are one part of it. But what I love what you said was like this path and getting into the anatomy of the practice and using it and making it your own liberated you. Like that freed you. That is the goal of yoga. It's not to do the postures. It's not to look super cool in some, handstand, headstand. It's to free you. And I love that you've put your own spin on yoga to make that happen for you. And the other really interesting thing that I'm hearing is yoga is an ancient practice, right? Like these postures were created and used thousands of years ago, but they don't necessarily translate into what the modern person needs.
Yeah. The poses are not very old. The oldest text we have on yoga poses is from 600 BC, 600 AD, so 1,500 years ago. There are no yoga poses. There is the practice of yoga, and the oldest book in the world, the oldest written book in the world is the Rig Veda. It's talking about yoga.
Yes.
But it has nothing to do with poses.
And thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, the Buddha was not doing poses. Siddhartha was not doing poses. He's like, oh, man, my hamstrings are so tight. Yeah.
Well, that's what Patanjali, right? They talk about all the things in the world, about paying your debts and right relationships and, organizing your pantry, basically, like get everything in order and have right relationships and don't harm anyone. And now get into a seated posture. There's one pose mentioned in the whole.
Have a seat.
In all of it. Yeah, just sit down and meditate.
Yeah. So I love, let's talk about religion. No, one of the things about religion that, I grew up in the Bible Belt. The Bible Belt is expanding. I don't know if you've noticed that. I grew up where, everybody goes to church. You want to go to church. Oh, bless your heart. Oh, honey. And I'm not religious, but if you talk to 5 religious people, it's pretty quick that they don't line up. They're Baptists, they're Lutheran, they're Methodist, and yet their personal experience doesn't line up, like perfectly with, say, what that preacher said that morning. Right? That's just normal. And I'm first of all, I'm really comfortable with the dissonance of that, like these two ideas that kind of seem like they don't mesh. Like I believe this book, but not all of it. Right? To me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. But one of the things I'm most proud of that was not kind of the intention, but came out of this practice of what if we take all of the inherited worldview out, not because there's anything wrong with it, not because it's wrong or something else is right. And like what Alicia and I were talking about earlier is let's take the morality out of it. This is good. This is bad. This is right, this is wrong. This duality, this pure duality. And because what that was doing was that was the thing that was trapping me, and not being able to find solutions. So 2 things happened to allow this idea of better. Right, we named our style yoga better, not yoga best. Yoga, everybody else is wrong. One was giving up the duality and realizing that we're really all somewhere on a spectrum of everything. And if, let's say, you want to measure strength, you say you want to be strong. I notice that I can't get on off the floor. I teach lots of 80 and 90-year-olds. We deal with the practical living. And you want to be strong. What if there's no place called strong? What if there's actually just a gradient of where you are, and I can be stronger or less strong? That's better or worse, which is very different than good or bad. So that's the first thing, just allowing things to actually be measured relative to where you are right now. So when you say liberated, I say asymptomatic. I say there is no place called healed, finished, done, cured. I've never experienced it. If you look at an MRI of my knees, those are not good looking knees. If you looked at Alicia's back in an MRI, like, damn girl, what the hell's going on? And then you actually look at her in a back bend and you ask her what her experience of her life is. It's the second thing that we care about. She's not healed. It's a mess in there. If you look at my spine, I still have a herniated disc. I just keep the pressure off the nerves through my daily practice, through being responsible for I say I have a crappy body. Like I grew up eating donuts and nacho cheese. Like that was my hobby was nacho cheese. And I was not a healthy person. And like in high school, I would drink a 12-pack of Coke a day. That has a cost to your health. And I carry that cost. Basically, if I eat tortilla chips, I'm fucked up. That's how sensitive I am to blood sugar changes. And, I could be pre-diabetic real quick. I could totally become insulin insensitive real quick because of what I did in my life. But I get to do whatever I want, really, if I'm responsible for my crappy, but it's not crappy, right? Like, Andrew, don't be so negative. You're speaking manifests in the world. It's like, I know.
Your cells are listening.
I love my body. It's really taken me a long way, but like, I was in pain as a 12-year-old.
I mean, well, it sounds like you're taking accountability for we're all results of our past.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about the Yoga Better style. And you talk about this, that what we do today is so we can be better tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's so that we can feel better 10 years from now or 20 years from now than we would otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that KP talks about, Lila. I mean, Ayurveda is the science of delayed gratification. I was thinking about that after our talk yesterday. I'm like, Andrew, you're probably one of the most dedicated Ayurveda practitioners that I know, but you're just practicing.
Yeah. Well, I used to eat a lot of ghee, so does that kind of...
Well, you don't have to eat ghee to practice Ayurveda.
I don't know. You might. Ghee is like pretty important.
Can be. Yeah.
But I also love that you mentioned that there's no destination we're arriving to. Like, that's what we say. Your health is dynamic. Like, it's not like you come see us and you're done. We fix you. You're healed. Like, it is an ongoing process to keep getting better and to maintain and to keep the balance.
So we have this idea of better versus good. We have this idea of improvement, incremental, iterative, nonlinear, just directional improvement versus like, I'm done. Because people really do relate. You see this all the time in your practices. People really relate to their health. Like, I'm gonna get into nutrition. I'm going to study for years how to make the perfect meal. And I finally execute the perfect meal and I eat it. And now I'm done. I never have to think about food again.
Well, the next meal.
It's crazy, right? We're never done with food. You're never done with movement. You're never done with the problems you have. One of the things that people really don't like hearing is, my experience tells me, and I see this because I actually teach people, I've taught people from 9 to 30, like they start when they were kids, and I teach people from 50 to 80. I teach a little less than 1,000 people a week. The average age of the people that come to this room, this is where I teach my private lessons, is over 75. I go to a little over one funeral a year. I see what happens. I see the end. It's not hypothetical. And one of the big breakthroughs so first there's this scale, right? As you say, dynamic, right? This just a single state. I'm done. I'm complete. When people come to you and they say, I want to be better, it's kind of hard to measure what the hell they want to be better at. And you ask them, what do you want to be? How do you want to be better? Or better yet, it says, please, everyone who's listening to this, steal this question. The next time somebody asks you for support, for coaching, they say, I want to fill in the blank. This is my favorite first question. How will you know when you got there? I want to be strong. Okay, great. How will you know when you're strong? Because actually what they're experiencing is there's something missing, or is there this thing that they can't do? The truth is, this might sound silly, but I have people who, they're like, I want to do a back bend before I'm 60. And then they come to me once a week. And that's kind of like their little life goal, this little mission. And although you might easily poke that sort of worldview, like that's not spiritual enough, or that's not significant enough, or that's like the earthly realm thing. What's the big thing? But for me, actually, one of the women that said that, she was turning 70. She's turning 70. I want to be able to do a back bend before I'm 70. And she was in a plane crash, shattered 15 vertebrae, has a rod running completely up her spine. For her, this is a life-altering breakthrough. For her, this is a thing that I have every reason to believe I cannot do, and I can't actually tell you why I want it. There's a thing that I want. I can't describe it. Will you help me? Now, I don't care about the back bend. I don't care if she ever gives up in a back bend, but the work it takes to overcome you and your resistance and as we said, the view of ourself, like this negative view I have, this idea that because I can't do it, I'm failing. It's bad. And then when I do it, I'll be happy. And of course now she's able to do back bend, and her biggest problem is, my third back bend is so weak. And for me, like, if that's your problem, we've won life.
At 70?
Yeah, 71. Like, Her biggest problem is, my third back bend sucks. That is a great life. We have won the game.
In back bend push-ups. So she's just pushing up into a back bend, coming back down, going right back up 3 times.
You got it. But
And
the
as
third
we-
time is not
the
as,
third time.
yeah, she couldn't get up her whole life. And now it's like number 3 sucks. So I bring that story to you to just say, we often have sort of negative views about certain things, particularly when we're coming from a yoga world. Like, it probably won't surprise you now, Lila, to hear, I love comparison and I love judgment. Judgment, so good. But what gets us in trouble is when we have this idea, for me, judgment and comparison are tools. There are costs to using the tools, but the truth is you cannot measure anything without comparison. But I can use comparison to poison a relationship or to poison myself, 100%. This morality that we have with some ideas, if we just see it as a tool, for me the metaphor is a knife. I have a sharp knife, I can cook a man his dinner or murder him. It's a tool. And can I be careful with the tool if it has a danger, like, say, a goal? But a lot of people poo-poo goals. For me, consider that you have no clue. There is no way to measure anything without comparison, and there's no way to measure direction or velocity of your progress without a goal. So for the metaphor for our goals is targets. Like if I'm an archer, you say, Andrew, I want to be good at archery, and I say, great, show me, and you're like shooting arrows all over the place
somewhere.
And so, what is a target? The target is over there. Lila, it's yonder.
It's
over
yonder.
Over yonder. So I got a target over yonder, and when we, like you said, this known destination, this idea that there isn't a place to get to, people talk about their goals like it's a place to get to. When, if we're using the archery analogy, I'm shooting an arrow. Is the goal of using a target as an archer, it is the goal to get closer and closer to the target and eventually just put my face on the target?
Well, I don't think so.
No, the target is a measurement system. The target stays way over there, and my practice is why literally there is a practice of Zen archery. It is not about perfection, and it is not about winning a competition. It is the thing you have to do, the being you have to impact, the presence, the focus that you get to practice and become to, in one moment, have a little bit of control. And the target is the feedback mechanism. So when you guys are talking to somebody about their health, you got to measure what the hell you're talking about. But if I don't have a measurable goal, so for instance, like I work with the mechanics of body mostly. If somebody is, I want to ski until I'm 85. I've never skied. Too cheap. I don't want another expensive hobby. But I study all sports mechanics. I'm a most excellent skiing coach. I can make you ski much better. And so we work on that because it's a thing that for them is a measurement of the quality of their life. And it sounds so silly and trivial, but I find that I've seen this with my parents. I've seen this with lots of people at the end of their lives. In yoga, there's this idea that desire is bad. In Buddhism, they literally define suffering as desire, as attachment to outcome. Except what I see at the end of people's lives is when they don't want things, it's over.
Yeah.
You guys do you want to be healthy? Do you want to have love and connection and community in your life? Do you want to feel good in your body and be fulfilled? Like, to me, when you're honest about that there are things that you just want, those are your goals now. And now you can say, are the things I'm doing with my life getting me closer or further away from my goals? That's the measurable. But you cannot measure anything, one, without a goal, and two, without comparison. So you need to be collecting data.
So you got to compare yourself to the other people around you, right?
You can. Absolutely. So there's a few ways you can do it. So for instance, I am personally very motivated by frustration. A lot of people get shut down with frustration. Like my wife, not a good motivator. But I see somebody killing it over there that I know is a terrible person. And I get a little frustrated, like I have a little ego, something. Like I get motivated, I go do more work. It's really great. So knowing that about me, I can actually sort of create artificial frustration to like get me to friggin' sit down and write 1,000 words on this book. in general, if we're going to compare, we compare to, you only get to compare to one group. If you're going to compare yourself to anyone in the world about how healthy you are, if you come to my class, you're allowed to compare yourself to the people you graduated high school with. How are they doing? How well do they get on and off the floor? How are their back bends?
Oh man, I'm feeling really good about myself all of a
You
sudden.
should feel amazing about yourself. They are not doing well. They are looking old and miserable. So those are the only people you're allowed to compare yourself to. Now, we can compare ourselves to ourselves, but what most people do is they have
That's what I like to do.
Well, what most people do, they think they're doing that, but they're actually comparing themselves to an ideal. And
Okay.
And ideals do not exist. This is actually the problem with perfection. How do you know if you're perfect? Not like oh, you're so perfect, I love you. Not like, this sunset is perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. The idea of perfection. And when you put this idea that I can be perfectly healthy, or my blood assays can be perfect, or I can have perfect balance, that's more of this destination stuff. And upon analysis, it's okay if it's sort of a weird idea, but I challenge you to start thinking, how would I measure perfect? Is this ideal that I have in my mind of, say, perfect presence? That's often the whip, because I'm imperfect, is the whip I use to beat myself up that my meditation sucks. Mm-hmm. That I scrolled on my phone, or my sleep is bad, or I should have known better not eating that.
Yeah,
because
of cheese. Yeah.
But you can see that you're not comparing anything out here where we all live. It's this ideal. It's a state of perfection that you use as a whip. So in our training, you are not allowed to, we have all kinds of fun ideas, and we empower you with all these cool tools for your health and your relationships. We have a whole Saturday on communication where you get really great at listening and talking. You are not allowed to use any of the cool tools we do in this practice as a whip for yourself. It is only there to empower you, full stop. So we can compare ourselves to two things. One, where I was last year at this time, or we can't do the experiment, but where would you be had you never done the stuff you're working on right now? The alternative life. The big issue, of course, I will say not so much dudes, because we live in this fantasy land of I'm great, non-reality, stupid, unearned confidence and optimism. But the rest of humanity tends to be extremely hard on their results. Nothing is ever fucking good enough. And doing this thought experiment of okay, I never got all the gifts of this book or this author or this teacher or this practice. Where would I be without it? And there is no position you can take that isn't, I'm doing great. I'm doing fucking great. Now, some people have real health issues. Some people are doing worse than they were last year. So that's where the interventions of hey, let's look at your sleep. Hey, let's look at your stress levels. Hey, let's look at your violent road rage tendency or whattever, right? We're going to teach you some breathing and work on handstands. Take your rage out in your handstands. But that's all in the context of the fact that we're having this conversation, you're doing great.
That's all you just said, a treasure trove of great things. And to recap some of the things, tracking progress is really important. And we know that people go to practitioners and they don't know if they're getting better. They take things, they do supplements, they go to yoga, and they have no idea if it's working. I hear that so often. I'm doing all this stuff and I don't know if it's working. And if you're not tracking progress and you're not setting goals, then you won't know if it's working. And I love that, because that's just totally mirrors what we do and some of the challenges we face. And another thing, I have to geek out on a spiritual level with you, because I believe that anything can be good or bad, from cigarettes and alcohol to things like judgment and comparison. It is all about context. And most people forego that nuance for black and white thinking because it is easy and convenient and quick. And so anyone who's willing to get nuanced is I love it. Right? That's just, it's missing.
Give me some gray area.
Right. I live in the gray area, so I love it. And lastly, I just want to, my quote this year is, it's not about the goal, it's about who you become in the process. And I set some hefty goals for myself last year, and I didn't hit them. But you know what? I fucking love who I became in the process. And the goal didn't matter. Like, I was working towards the thing, and that wasn't what it was about at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you buy the house, if you do the headstand, if you make the money, if you're miserable. And it's about more than that. So thank you. I'm done geeking out.
No, I love that. So two things, I'll go in reverse order. One, my wife is a very, very good coach. And so what she would say is, okay, I have a goal to buy a house, say, and it is a non-negotiable that I am joyful the whole way. And now I have a way to measure whether I'm getting closer to my goal. If I'm fucking road raging, like, okay, this isn't working. If anything going wrong sends me into a tailspin, then okay, I'm actually, when we talk about authenticity, it's not a word I use a whole lot, but that's inauthentic to your goal. Mm-hmm. If as you say, if the way you're getting there is through suffering and misery and you're pissed off all the time, this is why no one is friggin' happy.
Yes.
They got their goal. Great.
We're like bypassing reality for the thing we think we want, and we're not tuned into the moment and how the things are actually making us feel on the way there. And I think as Alicia always talks about, like, the lack of awareness, like if we're not tuning in and getting the feedback of how are we feeling now, how is this going, then we might not be on the right path.
Yeah. Or I'm using the wrong tools to get the thing that I want.
Or do I know what I want?
Yeah. So you do.
I love that. Well, I mean, you said that. What does that mean to you, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to be stronger? Or if you want to be healthier, what does that look like? How do you know when you're healthier? You know, people have different ideas about what those things are. And when I work with people, I have quantifiable goals. I ask people to rate things, like all kinds of things. You know,
you said
your stress.
Rate, exactly. Yeah.
Rate. Yeah. Rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10. Rate your sleep on a scale of 1 to 10. And then
turning these very hard to measure things into measurables. Love it.
Yeah, turn them into measurables. Or how many hours a night are you sleeping? How many days are your cycle? All of those things. Yeah, what percentage of your sleep is deep sleep? And then these are things that we can look at and see if there's improvement. Yeah. But those might not be the measurables that the individual cares about.
Yeah. So yes.
A lot of times I look at people and I see great progress and I'm really excited for them, but they're not getting that one result that to them says they're improving.
Yeah, for sure. Can I give you a tip on, like somebody's coming to you, I know you have a lot of experience in supporting people out of shit in their lives. Yeah. I so arrogantly said, you know what you want. I do believe that we do know what we want, but it's actually a separate skill to say it, to enunciate it. Language is a very weird thing. It's a very, this abstraction that we are using right now to connect and have fun. There are limits to it, and we typically don't analyze it, and we don't spend a lot of time working on it. I've written hundreds of thousands of words. I can tell you it's hard to communicate. And being honest with yourself is one of those other things, like, so my husband doesn't rub my feet. My goal is I want my husband to rub my feet. No, you want trust and intimacy. You want to trust that he cares about you, is concerned about you. He doesn't read my mind, and I would be happy if he read my mind. No, what you want is good communication. What you want is the space that almost none of us get, where you can actually be yourself and be vulnerable, where you can actually. Do you guys have any? So this is one of the things that I realized as an adult. Like, I have a really hard time. For me, it occurs as a very hard, vulnerable thing to ask for anything.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, my wife, rub my feet. She's like, her foot's in my face. She can like ask all day for anything she wants, and I just like imagining being her. I get a panic attack. Like, oh my God, that'd be fucking crazy to be that free asking for what I want when I'm a fucking grown ass man and I can like take care of myself. Go get a massage gun, fucking massage it. Like, that's that whole like secondary. I've been trained by reality that either I'm unworthy or whatever the thing is, right? And it's like, can I be honest what I want? The very first day of our training, when we do teacher training, you answer that question. What do you want? It's fun to listen to people and hear what they want. We just had a course start recently. One woman was talking, and she was talking about leadership, and it wasn't clear. What do you want? What's the goal here? And it's like, I want people to feel safe around me. Because when she talks, people, like, she kind of has a face like mine. Like, if I don't consciously smile, I look a little like a serial killer. And she knows that, and she doesn't like the results of that. Okay, how can I, like, get better results in my corporate job? I want to be a leader in this life. I want to make a difference with people. I want people to see me as a resource. And that is not happening right now. But of course, that's like a very vulnerable thing to say. I actually want people to trust me. I want to be worthy of trust. I want clarity in communication. And when I used to talk about myself and things that weren't working, literally people would be like, did you understand that? Because I did not understand. Like, no one knew what I was talking about. And it was a huge breakthrough for me to find that vulnerability. For a lot of people, it's terrifying to say, I actually want to, the goal for me is safety and security. Like, it's the thing that I have denied myself, and I want it. I'm going to admit to myself that I want security. Like we talked about hippies before we started. One of the things that happens with hippies is, I say this is really true for me. Before 2010, the most I'd ever put on a tax return was $7,000, like real poverty. But now you're a yoga practitioner. I'm like, so yoga, can I do so much meditation? And we get to pretend that we're not miserable. I have a miserable sensation, what I do, but really my body is stressed out because I don't know how we're going to eat next month.
But you just bury it under the prana.
Yeah, we just pretend. Oh, I'm great. You know what? I'll renounce all possessions. It'll be fine. But I'm a family man. I got kids. Like, one of the biggest breakthroughs for me in my entire life was, I was 27. I had a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So he was 7 years old. In 11 years, he was going to be 18. And part of the measurement problem we talk about is, where are you today? Like, that's what all those questionnaires you do are for. Like, most people aren't honest with themselves about where they are. So when I really got honest where I was in my life, I realized all I would have to offer him in 11 years was 2 like really cool parents who struggled for rent every month. And that, it broke my heart, and I made it not okay. And I was literally living in a permaculture eco-village in Eugene, Oregon, like picking fruit out of a field, and a house built in the 1890s. And it was like free and cool. And we had like community meetings, and I admitted that I was miserable. And I moved back to Houston, and like, I built the life that I live right now, where I work 7 days a week. I help people every day, but it's because I interrupted my inherited things. One of which was I couldn't be my father. If you want to get deep. Basically, all the choices I was making was I couldn't be my dad. And once I took that and I just cleared it off the table and asked myself, what the hell do I want? I said, I want a future for my kids. A different kind of future where they can do anything they want. And literally every choice I've made, creating the life that I live right now, was from that one moment of clarity, being honest with myself what I truly wanted. It's scary. Isn't that fun?
It is, well, because when you put words to it, then you have to make it happen, or you don't succeed.
Whose ass is on the hook?
Exactly. Like, you're responsible.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned you interrupted patterns, because so many of us are just living in those habitual patterns. And if we don't interrupt them, if we don't remember that we can interrupt them, and then we can choose to react to a situation differently, then we're stuck in the cycle, and we're just going to keep feeding this cycle of misery until we interrupt it. And the only way to interrupt it is to do something different. Do anything different than you're not doing, and you will be on a better path.
Handstands are very helpful for that. Do something different. Do 100 handstands. You will make different choices. So the way we define empowerment is knowing you have a choice. And so when you think about periods of your life where you felt disempowered, it's because you knew you were stuck. There is no choice. I have to be miserable to make the money to buy the house. That's disempowerment. And the moment you just like wake up and like, oh, I have a choice, that's when you feel empowered. You might still make the same choices, but you might be still doing the same thing, but it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, I'm not helpless today.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like what you said about the meditation aspect, because this is something that's been coming up, right, Lila? Mm-hmm. The necessity of being aware of where I am right now, and the world that we live in today, where we have it's almost like society is conditioning us to there's a lot of pressure to be positive. There's a lot of pressure to be happy. There's a lot of pressure to put a positive spin on things. Sometimes I feel like I'm not allowed to disagree.
So boring.
And or that you're not allowed to be uncomfortable, right? That if I'm uncomfortable, it's because there must be something wrong with me. And you can use meditation as a tool to help you grow in awareness and to open up doorways and find other pathways. Or you can use meditation, or I'll use I statements. I can use meditation as a tool to just feel better and pretend that everything's okay when it's not.
Yeah, as much as people use drugs, nobody
Yep.
wants to suffer.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to suffer.
I can get real high on oxygen
Yeah.
and then not take the changes, not take the steps. So I love that you were able to recognize that and do something about it.
Well, so if you analyze what worked, okay, I got a result that I liked with any area of my life, and you analyze what actually happened, that's all I did. Okay, something isn't working, experiment with other things, which means you're testing. So I'm not a scientist, but I like pretending like I'm a scientist. And my favorite definition of scientists is people who devote their lives to try to disprove their favorite idea. That's what all studies are. That's what scientists do. Good scientists, real scientists. You can't prove something is true. You can prove that it's wrong. There is no way to prove that something is true. So all studies are designed to prove that something is wrong. That's it. And so when you start testing stuff, what's working, what's not working, you get incrementally closer and closer and closer. And first of all, can I compliment both of you? I love when you said, you're just so complimentary. It's so great. Thank you for listening. I feel really heard. And I love how much you love all the things I'm saying. It's really wonderful. So this thing that you talked about where you can use anything. You can use relationships, you can use jobs, you can use any spiritual practice, any physical practice as the equivalent of a drug. One of the things we do famously, so I don't call what I do like death yoga, but it's intense for people, and I appreciate the name for your experience of it. But we do a lot of things that what I've spent a lot of the last decades doing is finding things you cannot escape from. So when we talk about honesty, like you can't get away from the sensation. So for instance, if you're very flexible, there's a lot of styles of yoga that are like perfect for you to hang out in positions where you can use your mobility to be efficient. And super flexible people hate my style of yoga because I take away their efficiencies. They can't do it. And all of a sudden they're confronted with how weak they actually are. And so what I coach when we're doing something like quad burners, it's just a repeated squat with your hands on a block, regardless of how low you go. We do enough of them, it's intense. And what I coach people is don't go to your happy place. You're great at meditation, you're good at visualization, you're good at feeling great, awesome. Feel your legs, please. Take breaths, put all of your attention on the sensations that are coming from your legs, and it's sort of like deciding to eat something that's really spicy, that you can't get away from, right? You have real intense spice in your mouth. Like it's a very intense experience that you want, like you're doing everything you can mentally to try to not feel it. And the invitation in our practice is to feel all of it. And would you like to know why?
Yes.
Consider, and I know you guys have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff, and I hope this is like a helpful distinction. Consider that your unwillingness to feel the stuff that sucks caps your ability to feel the beauty. It works on both sides of the spectrum. When you numb yourself to pain, to discomfort, you cannot feel as deeply on the other end of the spectrum. You are literally numbing yourself across the board. Just on a purely mechanical basis, you can see that if I am numbing myself to any sensation, I am a danger to myself when I move. I'll hurt my knees, I'll hurt my hips, I'll hurt my back, I'll push through something where my body was yelling at me to stop, but because I have literally practiced numbing myself, I'll get injured. I don't know if you know this, Alicia, but this is literally why, in addition to the strengthening aspect, why we design the classes the way we do, where like you are confronted, like emotions come up. It is like you will hate me for some periods of the class, but it is actually literally to push both ends of your capacity to feel and be sensitive to all things. And that's why it feels so amazing when you walk out of the room, because you felt deeply the stuff that sucks. And through recovery, through recovering from injuries and addictions, like if you're unwilling to feel it, you're trapped. It's stuck to you forever.
I've never thought of it like that, but it makes utter and complete sense. I remember walking into your level 3 class. I'd been going to Larry's classes for a long time at Black Swan Yoga's
Love Larry.
Yoga studio. Love Larry. Larry is one of the reasons I can walk today. I will never forget him giving me a foam yoga block and telling me to put it under my back.
Good coach.
And me just terrified. I had so many problems with my low back. This is when I think I had a stress fracture in my L5, and I would get stuck in an anterior pelvic tilt. And I was so scared. I looked at him and I think I just shook my head. And he said, just trust me.
He's such a good teacher.
It might have been like a year and a half later that he was like, hey, there's this class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at a studio called Yoga Better. You're strong enough to go there. And I walked in and I felt strong. And about 5 minutes into the class, I don't think I had ever felt weaker in my life.
You don't pay me to feel strong. You pay me to...
It's an ego eradication class, which is great for someone like me.
Yeah, love it.
Well,
love
and the
Larry.
same thing goes for emotions. Like if, like you touched on, if we don't feel our emotions, if we don't process the bad stuff, we can't get to the good stuff, because it's processing the bad stuff that gets us to the good stuff. And I think of, this is a bit of a tangent, but like these children getting put on Ritalin, and it doesn't just blunt the bad stuff, it blunts the good stuff, and they grow up into adulthood and they can't feel anything. And it's heartbreaking, because part of life is feeling all the things, the good, the bad. Like that is the beauty of life. And I love that, because sorry, not to keep complimenting you, but just that's a really great perspective.
Please don't stop.
Like we have to feel it all, and it has to be okay. And I think tying it back to the meditation though, like finding the equanimity and just knowing it's okay even through the bad stuff is really helpful. Feel the bad stuff, but know it's okay still.
The annoying thing is you don't have to feel it. Everything in society is set up that you don't have to feel it. There's a lot of places for you to go to not feel it. And it is a perfectly rational solution. For me, the breakthrough, like I actually really appreciate, I've dealt with my addictions, but it's never been like my life fell apart from them. But talking to people in recovery, I really appreciate this experience that so many have had, where if alcohol is my thing and I went to the same bar every day and I ordered the same drink, at some point I have to go to the bar, sit at that bar and order my drink and not drink it. Now that is very dangerous if you're really good at giving in to that. But that experience of knowing that anything is possible, that now I have choice. There's the thing, my favorite thing I'm choosing not to do because it doesn't work for me. But what we've talked about, what works and doesn't work, or what's better or worse, workability as a scale has to have a goal. We talk about, I want to play it. Andrew, am I winning the game? Okay, great. What game are you playing? I don't know.
The game.
Well, you're standing on a basketball court with a baseball and soccer shoes, and like, what game are you playing? So the thing I love about business, about games, is that they have rules, which means they have goals and they're measurable. What's the score? And then you ask, how good are you at down dog? How's your down dog doing? How's your sleep doing? It's kind of hard as an experience to answer it. And so what we're doing in the practice, we talk about the physical practice, we're literally becoming connoisseurs of our own body sensation, so I can answer that question.
Yes. Yes.
How am I doing?
Because it's all expansive. When I can feel my big toe, when I can feel my big toe, then I can also, or if I can feel my heartbeat
in your big toe. It's literally one of the instructions I give people. Can you feel your circulation in your toes?
That was one of my favorite things that you do, is after a class, you'll have us feel our toes, like individual toes, and ask us to just move an individual toe. Yeah. Because I did a lot of Satnam Rasayan practice years ago, time back, where that's where you begin, is like feel your clothes on your body, feel the air on your skin, feel your big toe, feel your left knee. And when I experience that, then I begin to feel other things as well, whether it's emotions or intuition, or I ate this thing and now I feel kind of funky. And it's all expansive. And at the end of the day, all of it helps me come to a deeper level of honesty with myself. Yeah. And you started talking about the disillusionment, right? Yeah. This is how I get out of the delusion. I like the word delusion. I walk around with if you look up delusion in the dictionary, it's a false psychotic belief. I have a lot of false psychotic beliefs. Yeah. Oh, and I don't know I have them until I don't anymore.
It's a great question to ask people when we're trying to get at this sensation that really starts to starts to create this awareness, this self-awareness of how little we do know generally, and how mostly we are operating on biases and programming and all that stuff. So I'll ask you both. You've both been wrong before, yes? You've just realized you're wrong? Okay, great. What does it feel like to be wrong?
Like a little part of me dies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like an ego death, or like an embarrassing, is it good? Is it?
It's not like a French orgasm. It's not.
You have to look that up.
Yeah, wait, what?
You lost 2/3 of your...
No,
Try that
that's
again.
actually, I don't speak French, but that's one of the words for orgasm in French that translates literally to a little death.
Oh, the little death. Yeah, of course.
But it's a little death. But no, it's painful.
Yes.
Being wrong hurts. I don't like it. It's easier and more inviting to just not say anything, or to just agree. I think this is one of the one of the traits of agreeableness can come from, right?
People pleasing is so
let
good.
me just agree with you, because if I say something, I might be wrong, and that's just not fun.
Let's avoid that risk. Exactly.
It's dangerous. It's risky. Yeah, very risky.
Lila, what does it feel like to be wrong?
You know, I'm trying to sit with this one, because I think it's something that's been evolving for me. And I can tell you that there's been a past part of me that gets crushed, like Alicia said.
Yes.
Like just the little kid in me quivering of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm dumb, and all the things. And that's actually one thing that I've been trying to get better at is being wrong, being okay with not knowing everything, and being confident in myself to know that I don't know everything. And so that's actually been like a big part of my arc and things. And I think depending on the context, there's still a bit of a pang, but I'm getting better at it every day.
Yeah. There is a part of it that's kind of exciting, but neither of you technically answered my question.
Oh, shoot.
Ooh, he tricked me.
Oh, gosh. Was I not listening?
No. You answered exactly how
we're talking about orgasms.
No, they're French orgasms.
Are you new?
It was going to go there eventually. Somebody says death, like, aha, oui. What you did is you answered the question, what does it feel like to realize you're wrong? The question was, what does it feel like to be wrong? And just take a deep breath. It feels like this, because you're wrong about all kinds of stuff right now. You just don't know it yet. And so people are avoiding the feeling of discovering it. That's that hot stove. We have a distinction for body sensations in this practice called hot stoving thing. So when you do quad burners, it hurts sometimes. And you actually can be sore. Like curbs are a problem. Like your quads can be sore enough. Walking is an issue. So I love cooking. Imagine you have a nice hot stove and you put your hand on a hot stove. It turns out that the thing that's pulling your hand away isn't your brain. There's no thought like, oh no, this is hot. I should remove my hand now, because that's way too slow. Turns out the signals. So I actually, you can't really tell, but I fell a year and a half ago, slipped and caught a griddle that was on. I got 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over my hand. That was so fun. Your hands are not good places to get real burns like that. Hurts a lot. So it turns out that the signal gets sent to your spinal cord, and it's the spinal cord, like an earthworm, that's pulling your hand away. It's jerking the hand away. So it's very quick. So then I asked the question, is there any physiological benefit? Is there any advantage? Is there any reward for overcoming that reflex, for keeping your hand on a hot stove? No, definitely not. The answer is, are you crazy? Have you ever been burnt? Get your hand off that stove. It is only, if you want to be healthy, that's not going to bring you more health. It's going to push you in the wrong direction. So we would call that worse. Okay, great. Can you see that quad burners might occur to your nervous system like that? And so it's really easy, particularly for beginners or people that don't trust their bodies, to have an uncomfortable body sensation and then they hot stove it. And then their conclusion is, I will never feel that again. That's bad for me. Except that feeling you're having in your quads is what getting stronger feels like. There is a flavor. There is an experience of getting stronger. It's pretty unpleasant. This is why flexible people often don't like my classes, because there is no efficient way to get through it. You're going to have the emotional reaction to getting stronger. But great news, you'll be much stronger if you're willing to go there. And so I'm kind of interrupting this very primal, primitive reaction to discomfort. Trusting as like a higher level thing. I'm thinking my way into this choice that this is going to be good for me next year. I'm going to, for whatever, trust this crazy person and just do 5 more quad burners. Like, this does not seem rational. I should run out of this room right now. But we often hot stove things that are very good for us because they're uncomfortable. Except, how do you know if it's actually a thing that's hurting you? So this is the nuance. This is where the fun is, where I can become such an expert in the sensation of my body that I can instantly tell the difference. That is not a sensation that's going to bring me anything that I want. This is a sensation that I will sit with all day. I don't like either of them, but I can taste the difference.
It's kind of like, and my personal philosophy is like, no matter what, the journey is going to be hard, but is it suffering? And I think like that's my litmus test is, okay, no matter what I do, it's going to be challenging, but like, is it misery? Is it suffering? Or is it like something like there's a different flavor to the hardness when it's the right kind of hard?
Alicia's thinking.
Well, I think that suffering is more of like, that's up to me, right? I mean,
hard is up to you too.
I
can dig ditches all day and not make it hard.
Exactly. I mean, it's a state of mind, because I can do some excruciating things, or I can, oh gosh, the amount of like bad tasting stuff I swallow. I'm just thinking of all of the powders. Lila and I take a lot of churnas. We both swallow a lot of powders. And I'm doing a lot of bitters right now. And I'm just thinking about all of the bitter, the Mahasudarshan churna and the Bacopa.
Mix it with some gin. It's great.
Just swallowing this stuff and then eating, trying to get the taste out of my mouth. But it could be much worse than it is. And I love doing it, even though it tastes awful, because I know that, man, it's making me feel really good. Yeah. It's delayed gratification. Yeah. It doesn't feel great in the moment while it's in my mouth or when I'm swallowing it, or even probably for 10 minutes afterwards while I'm still tasting it. But it's not misery. It's not suffering. It could be. It's what I make of it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make the distinction that I think we can choose to suffer, but I think suffering happens when we're not listening to our internal compass and we're doing things out of alignment and not in authenticity, and putting ourselves, we're hippies living a hippie life and thinking this is, I'm Zen and it's all good, when really you're suffering because you're ignoring a part of yourself that wants something different. Like you can only lie to yourself and be in disillusionment for so long, or it's going to be suffering. And I think that's where the distinction comes in, is it's not always just a choice. It's like, are all the things in alignment? Okay, we're not suffering. This is just hard when. Yeah.
We've been nerding out and doing all these definitions, and we could do this all day. But let me give you one more thing. So we distinguish between easy and difficult. Simplicity, complexity, difficulty, ease. Those are very different measurements. What is in the book that's coming out is, as a practitioner, if I'm teaching you, my job is to be able to fine-tune all the knobs to help you get to where you want to go. If it's a level 1 class, we have a very specific goal for that class. If it's a level 3, it's a very different goal for that class. Which means I need to know how to make things harder, and I need to know how to make things easier. And good for you, I have done the work. There are 8 knobs. There are 8 things you can do to make things easier or harder, which is why I can teach a 96-year-old to feel better, and I can teach the contortionist, Cirque du Soleil hardcore performer who's trying to rehab their knee, or competing gymnast. I can torture a gymnast and I can torture a 96-year-old and attenuate the level perfectly for them. But how would we even define something that's hard? So if something's easy or hard. And so remember, I define words. You got to do it. Everybody who's listening to this, just like pick words and then just make up your own definitions and then just operate like that's true. It's the best. And then start your own style and incorporate your business. And okay, so there's a lot of ways to define difficulty, but in general, the biggest thing that creates the experience of something being hard, difficult for you, is that you have an expectation, you have a preference, and it's getting thwarted. That's it. I want to sit here. I'm driving to the airport, and the line is going to be about 30 minutes, and then I've got to like sit in the thing, and then I get on the plane, and then the plane is going to smell however it smells, and the seat will be like this. And you get to the airport early, and you get on the plane, and then you sit on the plane for 7 hours before you leave. There's nothing hard about that. The experience is hard because you had an expectation that was thwarted. So expectation is one of the knobs we control. So I'll say, for instance, like in a level 2 class, I'll say, okay, do 20 quad burners. And as they get to about 15, I say, go ahead and do 30. And you suffer so much more, even though if I said 30, you would be able to do it. But that suffering, this is where I love the Buddha's perspective of suffering. It's you are attached to some outcome that ain't happening. And what the hippie then does is say all attachment is bad. And what I suggest when I'm coaching people, it's like, look, have a goal, enjoy having the goal. You're not always going to get the goal. You have a preference, enjoy the preference. I love when there's love and fun and play and we laugh and we're silly. And sometimes you're in a shitty mood. Okay, great. That's not my preference, but I can also state change. I can shift, I can move, I can wiggle, I can flow, I can play. I can switch my expectation. I can play a totally different game now because I'm always empowered in any room I'm in. I'm never without a choice. And when I notice that I'm feeling crappy, it's because I feel like I'm stuck. So part of this growth process, when you say alignment, like often people who have never really enunciated what they want can still absolutely know that they're not doing things in integrity with what they know they want. So when you talk about your intuition or things are in alignment with my truest self, however you would phrase it, what if you just like let your truest self talk for 20 minutes and fucking say what you want and then work to get that and then actually enjoy the process, and maybe you never get it. You may never get it, but that's actually you living in alignment with this thing that you are. It's who you are. That's my favorite thing in the world.
Do your best. The rest is up to God, right?
Yeah. You know, whoever's president. Oh, let's talk about politics. We didn't talk about politics this whole time. Let's talk about politics. No, no, please.
It sounds like you're talking about Dharma.
Sure. Yeah. It's again, to me, I view everything as a skill and every action is a tool. So everything you've ever read in any book is a tool you can use. If you come to my house, I have tools. I got a lot of tools, and I love drawers. And in my drawers are beautifully organized tools cut out in foam. Everything has a home. It is gorgeous. I collect tools because I love having the right tool. And most people have like 3 tools for their relationships. I got thousands. Just get more tools. If Dharma isn't, if the idea, the perspective, the viewpoint of Dharma is not helping you, try anything else.
Find something else that works. Whatever works.
But boy, oh boy, is that a helpful distinction to have in your back pocket when you notice that you're suffering. Yeah. Get all the tools.
Yes. I have a question for you.
Okay.
You talked about real yoga.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your experience of real yoga?
Yeah, there is no such thing as real yoga. Anybody that talks about real yoga is basically gatekeeping their preferences. And my experience of like loving yoga, falling in love with this first style, I got really lucky. My first yoga class was with Robert Bustani. Like, it's crazy luck. And I did not know how lucky I was. Like, one of the things that I assign in our teacher training is you have to get good at telling your yoga story. I haven't told my yoga story. And you have like 100 yoga stories if you want, but like being able to run the trip on why this is important, where you came from. And I didn't actually, until I wrote that as an assignment, I didn't do it for myself. I'm like, fuck, I am so lucky. I'm so insanely lucky that I ever got exposed to yoga. But there is no illusion that that's like true. It's right. It's best. It happens to be, from my perspective, an extremely important style that makes a huge difference in the world. And I'm on the branch, on the lineage of Iyengar, then Bustani, and then me. And I'm now currently devoting a lot of my time and life to sharing my best ideas, so that my absolute best ideas are everyone else's floor. They grow from there. Your worst idea is my best idea to transform the next generation. But there is no right way to do any of this stuff. And I actually say that in class. Please do not believe a single word I say. I'm not giving you truth. I'm not giving you rightness. Now, I care about truth. I care about getting more correct. But, 30 years ago, if you took a yoga class, that was the class in your city. There was no other class. And if you wanted to learn from a book, what did you do? You went to the library. And if that library even had a book on yoga or spirituality or Buddhism or whatever, it might be the worst book on that subject in the world. And then that was the cap on your knowledge. We live in the golden age of learning now. You can learn from anyone, anything. And now we have a problem of too much choice. But it's a way better problem. It's the best problem ever to have too much choice. So now we get to actually use the tools that you guys are distinguishing. Like, actually just pay attention. How do you feel? Get excited. Like, say yes to stuff and see what happens. And then say no to stuff and see what happens. I have no boundaries. Okay, well, maybe you need some boundaries. I never do anything. Maybe get rid of some of those boundaries. Like, have all the tools. Can this actually be fun? And this is from somebody who's clinically depressed for the first 20-something years of his life. Like, this is, there's no right way to do this stuff. And anyone who's trying to convince you there is a right way, there is a real way to do any of this stuff, I love watching my wife go through this with a lot of different teachers, because she came late to the game, right? She married the best yoga teacher in the world and hated yoga for the first 5 years of our relationship. Hated yoga. And she only does yoga because she took the training to be nice. She's just being nice to me. She took my training the first time.
Well, and she came from the fitness world.
Oh yeah. 16 years as a cheerleader, professional fitness trainer at the highest levels. So she never squatted below her knees once before she met me. Like, absolute hardcore fitness freak, fitness competitions. And watching her, try to build a business and really get like, oh, if somebody is, because it's hard because we're service providers, but there is a whole industry of service providers that are trying to get our small business to pay them money. Like, basically every person saying, hey, I'm going to get you 1,000 Instagram subscribers. Like, that's all they're doing is that's their business. You pay them and you don't get anything. Like, now you have less money and they have more money, but they're taking it from small businesses, right? Rather, like, go talk to Chipotle, dude. Like, they have plenty of money. Please stop taking business money from the people that are like trying to figure out how to make a difference in the world. And watching her kind of go through this learning curve of like, who do you trust for good information when there's so much information out there? And actually, you would call it intuition. I would call it just like this. You guys want to hear my definition of wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is an invention from 2 years ago. But Socrates would say wisdom is having knowledge, but then knowing how little you know for real. And so the way I rephrase that is, you're wise when you know the depth of your own ignorance. Like, your next disillusionment is like right around the corner. Like, you're not done with feeling dumb. So that's Socrates. Uh-huh.
Is your 8th book going to be a dictionary?
Oh, what a great idea.
Right?
What a great idea. So here's my definition of wisdom. So that's Socrates. Here's mine. So wisdom is, and this is why people occur as more wise with age, and why you all you just feel more wise, right? You're not perfect. You haven't arrived. You're definitely smarter, but there's a second quality to your intelligence that we call wisdom. What is that? And I love thinking about stuff and defining it. And so here's what wisdom is, particularly the kind of wisdom we get from age. You totally get more information as you age. You're smarter, you know more, right? You have more experiences, you know what works, you know what doesn't work. But when you're 16, you are absolutely sure you know everything. So what changed? Part of it is that Socratic, like, oh, I don't know everything, right? But there's another quality, and it is, the old school mail sorters. So like I get a mail and it's this neighborhood goes to this goes to this goes to this. Lila, you talked about context earlier. What wisdom that you get from age is you have more information and you have better context for where to put the data. Right? So if I get some data about how to run a better business, I have no illusions that I'm like really good with spreadsheets. But so it's in the context. So the data I have is in the context of like, I'm more of an ideas guy. I'm not the like, don't let me manage your business, please. But I have more data there, but there's no illusion about what the context is for that data. And so wisdom with age is, you know where you're dumb, but you also know the value of what you do know in its own context. Like you're better at evaluating how valuable the data that you do have, how smart you are, how much of a resource you are. That often occurs as you trust yourself more about, say nutrition or relationships or French orgasms. But you guys are super fun, ridiculously complimentary, and easy to talk to. Thank you for all the stuff that you do. We described the Yoga Better style as we both called it evolutionary and revolutionary. We are creating a revolution in some ways. I'm not fighting anybody, right? We're on the same team. What we're evolving is what we know. And what we're fighting is the stuff that would stop us from actually all growing together. So if you want to start a yoga studio with a totally different style, I'm your champion. I want you to win. We need 100 more yoga studios in every neighborhood in this city. But there is my job is to forward the conversation of growing. And of course, you just add an R to evolution as revolution, right? So it's a sweet little idea that we're all part of a conversation that pushes, that our grandparents couldn't possibly think of having. There was no context in which our grandparents could be having this conversation about human health and empowerment because they had to survive. And the luxury and the privilege of this particular time is it's an idea. It literally is through thinking. We're just thinking our way into this next phase of whatever it means to be human and empowered. It's super, super cool. So thank you guys for having me on.
It's very cool. To wrap, can you do two things for us? One, is there anything that you would just love to shout from the rooftops you want people to know, your message that you'd like to magnify? And then two, anything that you want to plug? Where can people find you? How can we support you and be supported by you? I'm interested in your offerings, even though I'm all the way here in Vancouver. What can I do?
Vancouver. Such a pretty town. So we named the style Yoga Better. I know that there isn't some truth that I operate from, and nothing I say is true. But I'm convinced more than ever that there really is only one rational place to stand when it comes to your health, and that is optimism. If you say you can't, you won't. And so just dipping your toe, regardless of what the conversation is around health, what part of health we're looking at, whether it's a weird thing with your back or shoulder, or you are I have a client whose daughter-in-law had a psychotic episode after her second baby and is freaking out. I have another client who her 35-year-old son is now diagnosed schizophrenic. Whatever sometimes you got to get help in very specific ways. Sometimes you just have gout and your toe hurts, right? It's whatever you're dealing with. It's for you, it's equally intense. Right? I don't know if you've ever had gout. It's not fun. It hurts. You can't walk. It's annoying and it's ugly.
You feel your big toe.
Feel your big toe. That's actually how I get people to feel their big toes. Get all those acid crystals in there. No, please don't do that. But dip your toe into, speaking of toes, any environment, any conversation, any community, any coach, friendship, relationship, thinking style, any book that's going to support you in any improvement in optimism, that tomorrow, it's possible that tomorrow could be better. And when you're on this side of injury or dysfunction, it feels insane and irrational to say that it could possibly be better. But to stand on the hilltop that it could be better tomorrow actually is the only position that will have you be in action to do anything. That doing anything different can only come from that there's a possibility I could feel better. So optimism, be optimistic. And of course, when you're in a state of optimism, you'll do my second favorite thing, which is be grateful. If you want to be happy, you want to be peaceful, you want all that stuff, you're having trouble, you feel miserable, there is a virtuous feedback loop that happens when you either have perspective or have gratitude. So one, I can step back, maybe go volunteer somewhere, maybe get in action and help somebody who's worse than you. That will give you what? It gives you perspective. Like, oh, my problem's here, they could be much worse. And what does perspective give you? Gratitude. Or you can do the work to find any fucking thing to be grateful for. And that puts everything into perspective, right? That context. You stop getting so tied up with the small thing, and you can actually put the thing in the context of whatever it is, wherever you are in life. So between optimism and gratitude, some pretty super powerful tools that, for me, it's the biggest thing missing in health. It's why people reflexively go to get surgery. It's like nothing is going to make a difference, so fuck it. Or, we had another yoga studio close here in Houston, a place called Big Yoga. And literally everything at Big Yoga, if you ask me, was that stuff healthy for you? I would say no. But is the insane importance of that institution in this city, it is a tragedy that it's gone. It's a tragedy. So so you would think, Andrew, isn't that good for your business? It's like, they teach 100 classes a week and they got like 100 people in every class. That's like 480 or 1,000 people that could be coming to your yoga studio. You know how many people come to my studio from Big Yoga? Fucking zero. Where are they going? They're just not practicing.
Black Swan.
Not 1,000 people.
Not all of them. Yeah.
And when Black Swan closes, you think, like, this is the thing. Like, we need these places. These are homes for people to actually fucking feel better, to do anything with their body. Would I teach that stuff? Fuck no. Is it important? Is it powerful? Is it life-changing? Can it save lives? Fuck yes, of course. So let me plug something in. I got a book coming out. The goal is to have it done by November. I do everything the hard way, including quad burners. I've taken every picture. I've written every illustration. Currently, this Postures book is about 180,000 words and over 600 pages. I've taken almost 8,000 photos to put the pictures in it. It'll have a little over 2,000 photos in the book, and it's literally documenting everything I know about human movement and health. From meditation to handstands to balance to recovering from injury to sensitivity. It's a big, big project. I will die much sooner from the stress of putting it together and the challenge. But when we talk about what do you want, for me, the answer was like, this gets to exist and it's worth my life. So that's the big thing. The goal is November of this year. And the website, yogabetter.com, you can find all that information when it finally does come out. We have our teacher training in person and via Zoom. And of course, we have our subscription site where there's literally thousands of videos. The goal of the subscription site was to document everything I know that works for a practice. So hundreds of videos of me talking you through how to have better balance, how to get on and off the floor more easily, recover from that weird knee thing or help your back. And that's $10 a month. And
worth every penny.
And if money's a problem for you, please just email me, Andrew@yogabetter.com. Our goal is to help as many people as possible. And what I tell everybody, I make most of my money in this room as a private lesson teacher, more than 40 privates a week. We do this for a living. We don't do it for the money. That's just how it is. So, but it's, $10 a month is a pretty fucking good deal. You could buy a year for $100. So other than that, anything these ladies say, do that. Just do that. Buy everything that they suggest. Call them for coaching. And then if you want to help with your knee, you can call me. That's fine.
I was just going to say thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a treat.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the book. I pre-ordered my copy,
yes,
and I know it's going to be amazing. And y'all check out Andrew at yogabetter.com. Follow them on Instagram at yogabetterstudio, where you can see his lovely wife. She's
so
all
hot.
over the Instagram. She is. She's so hot, and her message is just as beautiful as Andrew's message.
Best coach
and I
ever.
just really appreciate you coming on. This has been an absolute delight.
Well, love you,
yeah,
Alicia.
I hope you'll come back and talk to us another time.
Of course, yeah. Just you want to talk about weird definitions or get deep into some weeds. Love it. So good to meet you, Layla. Love you, Alicia. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Herbalism Uncensored. We're genuinely humbled by the love and support you've shown us. If you've been enjoying the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review if you feel called, and don't hesitate to reach out. Whether it's with a question, a success story, or a topic you'd love us to explore in a future episode. And remember, both Alicia and Lila, that's me, run virtual clinics. We'd love for you to check out what we're up to. You can find Alicia's practice Holistically Correct at holisticallycorrect.com, and you can learn more about my work at the Virtual Natural Healing Clinic by visiting tvnhc.com. Until next time, be well, stay grounded, and keep healing.